The Vanerbeekers of 141st Street, chapter 14, but let's talk about what happened in chapter 13. I think the main thing was that Isa got Jesse to come down into the basement. She'd fixed it up so nice, and it had carpet on the ceiling and the walls to make it, to help the sound. And then also Jesse tried to tell her about Benny and what she'd told him, but then Isa changed the subject kind of, and so she didn't tell. Chapter 14. When Oliver returned, oh, remember also basketball happened, and Oliver was trying to figure out what to give everybody when he only had like 26 cents. When Oliver returned from the basketball game, he snuck past the kitchen where Mama was mixing away. The noise from the mixer's motor made it easy for him to race up the stairs without Mama noticing. Back in his bedroom, Oliver pulled on the arm warmers that Hyacinth had made him and took out the donated gifts from his friends. He was delegating the red rubber bands to Lainey when his mother called to him from the kitchen. Oliver swept the gifts into his desk drawer, then grabbed his earphones and put them in, hoping his mom would be too tired to climb the stairs to search for him. It was not to be. 20 seconds later, his mom opened the door and peeked inside. "Hey, you," she said. "Wanna do me a favor?" Oliver sighed and removed the headphones. "Actually, great," said Mama. She handed him an enormous basket of cookies, all packaged in clear cellophane with jaunty little tags. Every year, Mama made enough Christmas cookies to feed the entire population of Harlem, and ever since he could remember, she appointed him the distributor. "Mama, can't someone else do it? Whenever I pass your cookies out, people want me to come in and look at photos of their grandkids and talk to me forever." "That's why I included sustenance." Mama reached into the basket and pulled out a bag labeled Oliver. The bag contained all 6 kinds of cookies he liked best. Mama sure fought dirty when she wanted to. "All right, go on now," Mama said. On her way out of his bedroom, she grabbed a stack of books off one of his shelves and put them into the empty moving box she had left in his room earlier that day. Then she disappeared out the door, and Oliver could hear her weaving around the growing number of boxes stacked against the hallway wall. Oliver put the books back on his bookshelf, shoved a few petition papers into his back pocket, then stumbled down the stairs with the enormous basket. Have a fun time, honey," Mama called from the kitchen. Oliver grunted. He braced himself against the cold, then let himself outside. First stop, Mr. Smiley, the super at the building 2 doors down, and the father of Angie, his basketball buddy. Oliver staggered to the sidewalk and made his way over. "Oliver!" Oliver looked up to see Angie waving at him from the stoop of her building. She bounded down the steps like a gazelle and landed at his feet. He put his basket down and greeted her with their special basketball handshake, a complicated series of backhand slaps and finger pointing, ending with tilting their heads over their shoulders and saying, "Oh yeah." After that particular ritual was over, Oliver leaned down and pulled out the bag of cookies his mom had made for their family. "For you," Oliver said. Angie grabbed them and wasted no time opening the bag and removing a sugar cookie, decorated like a Christmas tree. She took a bite and closed her eyes. "I love your mom's cookies," she said when she was done chewing. "Hey, can I come with you to drop the cookies off? We can get more signatures for your petition." Oliver nodded. "Sounds good. Hey, did I tell you that the Biederman started showing the apartment to new people already?" Angie's eyes widened. "Don't you have tenant rights or something? My dad is always talking about tenant and landlord rights. Mama says our lease is only good until the end of the year. He's allowed to rent to someone else if he wants." "There must be a way to stop him," Angie said, tapping her fingers against her chin. Have you done an internet search on the Biederman yet? Oliver nodded. We tried, but our internet got shut off. My dad will let us use his computer. Without waiting for Oliver to respond, Angie grabbed one of the two handles of the cookie basket, and together they lugged it to Angie's apartment. They opened the door to find her father, Mr. Smiley, sitting in his armchair flipping through a dog-eared dictionary. Are those Mrs. Vanerbeekers' holiday cookies? Mr. Smiley asked, rising from his seat. Angie gave her dad the squinty eye before pulling the bag of cookies from her pocket and handing it over. Don't eat them all, she warned. Oliver and I are going to use the computer. She tossed her jacket onto an empty chair and sat down at the living room table where the ancient monitor sat attached to a whirring hard drive. Oliver flopped into the seat next to her. Does that thing even work? It looks 1,000,000 years old. It got a lot better after Jessie fiddled with it, Angie said, pulling up the internet search engine, which opened at once. Oliver didn't have time to be amazed at Jessie's apparent genius around computers, because Angie had already typed Biederman into the search function. They didn't know his first name, so they added Harlem and City College. Angie scrolled, scanned, then punched more keys. Oliver watched the screen until his eyes glazed over. This was taking forever. Hey, Oliver interrupted after what seemed like hours. My mom will kill me if I don't deliver these cookies. You still in? Angie took one last look at the search results, then reluctantly closed down the search engine. I'll do more tonight, she promised before grabbing her coat and entering the living room. Dad, I'm going to help Oliver with the cookie deliveries. Mr. Smiley, startled to see the kids, hastily stuffed an empty cellophane cookie bag behind the couch cushion before flashing them a guilty smile. A scattering of crumbs clung to his beard. Angie pointed an accusing finger at him. Dad, you ate all of them? When Mr. Smiley could only offer a sheepish shrug, Angie rolled her eyes and stomped out the door. Oliver followed her. He looked at his cookie bag and then at Angie. In an act of supreme sacrifice, he tapped her on the shoulder. When she turned around, he held the bag out to her. You can have some of mine. I don't mind, he lied. Really? Thanks. Angie took a cookie. It happened to be the one Oliver would have chosen to eat next himself, and nibbled off an end. And Oliver sighed. Sometimes it was just so hard to be nice. 2 hours later, the cookies were delivered, and Oliver had been grateful for Angie's company. It was exhausting remembering his manners when talking to all those people, but Angie smiled and chatted as if she didn't mind seeing the same baby over and over in 24 pictures. The cookie basket was empty save one bag, and they had gathered 20 more signatures on the petition. Oliver gave Angie another cookie from his personal supply, leaving him with only 2. Oliver could not wait to go back home, sit alone in his bedroom, read Prince Caspian, and eat those last 2 cookies in peace. If you want to leave those petition sheets with me, I'll get more people to sign, Angie offered. Oliver handed over the petitions, then walked back to the brownstone. He had one last bag to deliver, this time to someone in his own building. The label said, Mr. Biederman, in his mom's swirly handwriting. Oliver trudged up to the 3rd floor. When he got there, he saw a bag of trash hanging on the handle of the Biederman's apartment. He knew his father came up to the 3rd floor a few times a week to collect the Biederman's garbage and bring it down to the building trash bins. Oliver unhooked the bag from the doorknob and left the bag of cookies in front of the door. Halfway down the stairs, Oliver turned around, climbed back to the 3rd floor, and placed his own bag of cookies down next to the one he had left there. Peace offering, Oliver said out loud. There was no response from the other side of the door. Oliver didn't expect there would be, so he headed back downstairs. Something inside the garbage bag made a funny clinking sound, so naturally Oliver peeked in to see what it was. Scattered among the remains of frozen dinners were shards of a broken record. 2 days left for Operation Biederman, Isa said from her spot by the easel in the twins' room. We need to diversify our strategy. We got a bunch of signatures for the petitions, Jessie said, as she fiddled with an old computer hard drive she had found on the curb. It's not enough, Isa said. She drew a diagram on the whiteboard and wrote Biederman strategy in big letters in the middle, then drew 2 arrows pointing outward. 1 arrow pointed to petition. At the end of the second arrow, she wrote acts of kindness. Oliver groaned when he saw Isa's last addition. Can't we sabotage the people who want to rent our apartment? That's a lot more fun. I know the other nice things we did for him did not go as planned, Isa said, but the petition could only do so much. It tells the Biederman that people like us in the neighborhood, but it doesn't tell him why. We have to persuade him to like us. We need to appeal to his heart. Technically, it's the brain that processes emotion, not the heart, Jessie pointed out. You know what I mean, Isa replied. I left the little Christmas tree outside his door, Lainey said, while sucking on a strand of her hair. Don't suck on your hair, Isa said, followed by, that was very sweet of you. And me and Oliver left him a record, a jazz record, Lainey added. Isa raised her eyebrows. A jazz record? Cool. Miss Josie said he liked jazz, Lainey said breezily. I can't believe I never thought to ask Miss Josie about him, Jessie said. Of course they've lived here longer than he has. They've lived here even longer than he has. Oliver was not about to share what he'd discovered inside the Biederman's trash and break Lainey's heart. Angie tried to search for him on the internet, he reported instead, but she didn't come up with anything yet. What is wrong with me? Jessie said to no one. I should have asked Angie if I could use their computer. I also gave him some of my cookies, Oliver said. The room stilled. You what? Isa whispered. Cookies. Some of the ones Mama made for me. Jessie spoke slowly. You gave the Biederman cookies from your own personal stash? Willingly? Not under duress? Wow, Hyacinth said in wonder. Frances' tail thumped the floor. I'm so proud, Isa announced. Such sacrifice. Oliver's face turned red. Can we just keep going with the meeting? Hyacinth spoke up. Mr. Jones said the Biederman used to teach art at the Castle College. No, not art. She tilted her head thinking. Art history. We should contact the art history department at City College, Isa said. Maybe someone knows him there. Art history sounds so boring, Oliver remarked. I think it sounds romantic, Isa said. I would love to know more about what life was like when Vincent van Gogh or Pablo Picasso lived. That's because you have an artist's soul, Jessie said. The right hemisphere of your brain is very highly developed. Yeah, art history is boring to those of us with normal brains, Oliver chimed in. I like art, Lainey interrupted. I want to learn about it. Thank you, Isa said primly. I think we should go to the art history department, Isa repeated. Maybe tomorrow when we go out with the petitions again. Lainey's face lit up. We get to go to the castle? The last time the Vanerbeekers went to the castle was for a spring fair their school was hosting with the college. Lainey was only 2 at the time, and to her disgust, she didn't remember anything about it. Sounds good to me, said Jessie. Great. Now, what I was going to say before we got sidetracked, Isa gave Oliver a pointed look, is that we need to give the Biederman a more personal look into who we are. How? Oliver asked suspiciously. I'm not giving up any more cookies, if that's what you're thinking. We need to wow him with how great we are, said Isa, so he wouldn't be able to imagine anyone as awesome as us living here. I'm good at hugging people, Lainey announced. I can't see hugging the Biederman going well right now, said Jessie. Maybe you can draw him a picture of the brownstone, Isa suggested. Who doesn't love a picture drawn by a 4-year-old? Lainey's brow creased. I'm 4 3/4, she corrected Isa. I can make him something science-y, offered Jessie. I'll write him a poem, Oliver said. His sisters stared at him. What? Oliver said defensively. Poetry is cool, okay? I wonder if I should make him a CD of my violin playing, said Isa. I'm so much better than I was 6 years ago. Hyacinth kept her head down, pretending to inspect France for fleas. Don't forget, we need to continue collecting even more signatures, Isa reminded them. It's a lot, but we can do it. We can do it. Oliver started humming the Star Wars theme song. No obstacle is too big, Isa continued as Oliver increased his humming volume. No man too mean, Jessie added. We are the Vanerbeekers, piped up Hyacinth as Oliver reached the crescendo of his song. Let's save our home, declared Isa. Dawn, dawn, dawn.